Welcome to hour number 2 of the morning after, live right here on Sports Grid and Sirius XM channel 159. That's the home for Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM, all across the Spiz Grizz network. That's Sports Grid, and I am Ben Stevens. Thank you for joining us here live on this Thursday morning. A big week in Major League Baseball. About 45 games left of this MLB regular season. It is the home stretch, although it still feels like we have a ton of games left. But in 162 of those regular season contests, once you get down to this point, late August, it's September, and then the calendar flips to October, that's playoff baseball. So teams trying to find that position in the postseason, whether at the top of the leagues in the standings for that postseason positioning based on seeds or just their way into a postseason appearance. And we have seen that play out this week in Milwaukee between the Brewers and the Dodgers. Now, yesterday, the Dodgers getting a win in a pitcher's duel, a short win for the Dodgers, but still a win for LA, which makes today's fascinating line all that much more interesting. It's Corbin Burnes on the bump for Milwaukee. Of course, the reigning National League Cy Young winner. It's day baseball out there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin today, yet the Brewers are booked as an underdog, even money at home at plus 100. The Dodgers a slight favorite at minus 118. Now, if you remember 2 days ago, on Tuesday, the Dodgers were a road underdog. Only the third game all year long that Los Angeles was booked as an underdog, and Milwaukee won. The Dodgers have taken the first 2 games of the 3 in this set, so 2 of the first 3, I should say, against the Brewers. Milwaukee trying to even out this 4-game series against LA today. But again, the Dodgers booked as an underdog 2 days ago, but with Corbin Burnes on the bump, the Dodgers are the favorites starting Andrew Heaney. It's interesting. When you look at what Corbin Burnes has done this year, he's not going to win the Cy Young for a second straight season, but he does have the second best odds. It's just that Sandy Alcantara has run away with this award for the Miami Marlins. But look at the K prop for Corbin Burnes today. It's at 7.5. The under has the slight juice at minus 118, and the Dodgers with a lefty-heavy lineup don't strike out a ton against righties, but you see that number, 181 strikeouts this year for Corbin Burnes, a 2.39 ERA, and an 8-5 record. But the 181, from a strikeout perspective, is the second most Ks of any pitcher this year in Major League Baseball. And 7.5 is relatively up there against LA, but it's not the highest K prop we have seen for Burnes this year. They often are 8.5 or 9.5 for the strikeout machine that can be Corbin Burnes at times. Again, interesting to see that line with Corbin Burnes at home, an underdog against the Dodgers. I understand the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, 81 wins this year, but against the Dodgers with Corbin Burnes as an underdog. Again, that strikeout prop, 7.5 today. But the Brewers are in contention for the National League Central right now. They are, as it currently stands, 3 games behind the Cardinals because St. Louis has won 3 straight games, and St. Louis continues to stack up wins. They have won 7 of their last 10. And St. Louis also taking on a National League West opponent today in day baseball. That would be the Colorado Rockies with Uncle Chuck out there on the bump. Adam Wainwright gets the start for St. Louis, and at home they are not an underdog like the Brewers are in Milwaukee today. Nearly a $2.50 favorite against the Rockies. Minus 240 right now for the Redbirds. A welcome to our Sports Grid radio audience here. The second hour of the morning after, live right here all across the grid in Sirius XM channel 159. All of our terrestrial radio affiliates now in the fold as well. Thank you for joining us here on this Thursday TMA. Big divisional series all week long, even between 2 separate divisions, but that have implications for the National League Central, because both the Cardinals and the Brewers, a 2-team race for that top spot in the National League Central, taking on 2 teams from the National League West. The Brewers, the harder of the 2 against the Dodgers. The Cardinals, as you can see there, at home today in the first baseball game of the day against the Colorado Rockies. 1:16 p.m. Central Time, local time in St. Louis. Actually, even earlier, 12:16 p.m. Central Time, 1:16 p.m. Eastern. And the Cardinals a minus 240 favorite right now for their matchup against the Rockies. As we look at things currently, we had some make playoff odds available earlier this week on the FanDuel Sportsbook. And again, both the Cardinals and the Brewers are vying for spots in the postseason. Whoever wins the division, of course, will get that berth into the playoffs, but maybe the other team in the National League Central still in the running for an NL wildcard spot. You can see that number on the Redbirds, minus 600. It was the best odds of the time of any team out of the National League to reach the postseason in those odds that were available. But the Brewers are still favored slightly to get into the playoffs as well at minus 145. Milwaukee is 3 games back of the National League Central. The St. Louis Cardinals own that top spot, and 2 games back of the National League wildcard race, that third and final spot right now in the NL, currently occupied by the San Diego Padres. And a quick look at those divisional odds that are back up on the FanDuel Sportsbook in the National League Central. The Cardinals, minus 290. The Brewers at plus 230. Now, Milwaukee not expected to win today. If the Cardinals cash in as a minus 240 favorite, that lead grows to 4. That number will be closer to minus 350 by the time we wake up tomorrow on a Friday for the National League Central odds. Back to football in these preseason months. Looking forward to the regular season here on the Morning After.
The early line.
Can Cease become the favorite in this market by the result of this baseball game?
I don't think so, because we have to remind ourselves, this isn't, Dylan Cease pitching to Justin Verlander, and that's the head-to-head matchup, and who wins it gets the title belts, right? I mean, that's not the way it works here. You actually are taking a look at this game saying, how is Verlander going to do up against that Chicago White Sox lineup? How is Cease going to do against that Astros lineup?
Only on Sports Grid. Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. Pregame. Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the best slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sports books. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour Champion, 2017 World Number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Tell me why you're so high on Herbert and the Chargers. They never get it done.
Number one is injuries. This team seems to be snake bit. If that this year, the only thing that's going to prevent them is coaching. The coaching and the offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi, he has a strong-armed, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert, who is young and can throw the ball all over the field. And they have one of the shortest target depths of any team in the NFL.
The Sports Grid Network.
It feels like a football Thursday. Live right here on the morning after on Sports Grid and Sirius XM channel 159. Preseason week number 2 starts tonight. The Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. The Seahawks a 3.5-point home favorite with a total that stands currently on the FanDuel Sportsbook at 40. And we are very pleased to welcome back onto the show to give us the handicapping edge for preseason football, or at least looking forward to the regular season in the NFL. It is Bill Krackomberger, one of the best in the industry, the sharpest mind that I know. And if you want any more expertise and insight, make sure to be following along with the Crack Wins app as well. Crack, thank you so much for joining us here back on the morning after. We look forward to having your insight throughout football season.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Miss you guys. Were you guys on the whole summer, or were you on the whole summer vacation, Ben?
We had all summer plowing through, just doing what we can here, and happy to have you back here on TMA. With all the other sports that we came to hit on, we're glad to have you back to talk a little football and anything else you want to share from that insight perspective. So, Crack, let's start in the preseason. Week number 2 starts tonight in Seattle. Again, the Seahawks, a 3.5-point favorite against the Bears. Crack, what is your approach to betting on preseason NFL football?
Well, preseason NFL football has been really successful for me. I actually don't do a lot of regular season games, as you guys probably remember. I do a lot of totals. I'll do some correlated parlays first half, and, of course, proposition bets. But preseason football is where it's at to bet sides and totals, both. It's been the first week. Listen, anyone worth their weight in salt that's a handicapper, if you're not beating things like preseason football, you probably should get a different hobby. It's that simple. Following market capping, literally following the media, following your socials. There's so many different things to look at here. Beat reporters, very important. Happened to be very important last week in a couple games. They know more about that team that's going to be on the field than anybody. The socials where the coaches or assistant coaches or someone puts out something and how long they may play or may not play. You have to know the coach's motivation, what coaches want to win the games. Obviously, you see what Baltimore has done. So there's that, and there's also the quarterback. The quarterback depth, how many quarterbacks are there on the team? Are they going to play even for a series, the first and second string? Are they not going to play? My own opinion is starting in week 2, you only have week 3. You only have 3 weeks of preseason. I would get a couple of reps here for some of the guys that haven't really been in there against big opponents that are trying to tackle them. So, you want to get them a couple of snaps here. At least in week 3 you will. But so that there you go. There's the strength, really. It's the reason why I started out 5-1 for my guys. And over the years, I don't want to tell you the percentage because it doesn't sound believable. But preseason football, I'll bet more on preseason football and literally than I'll bet on, the regular season as far as sides go. So,
right. There can probably be more edges when the market is a little bit softer here throughout the preseason schedule. And Crack, we see the total for tonight fluctuating a tad. It opened at 39.5, got up to 40.5, down to 40 this morning, and now live on FanDuel. That over-under for the Seahawks and the Bears is live at 41. Tomorrow night's first game on a Friday evening, the Panthers and the Patriots, that over-under currently stands at 40.5. And Cracked the story last week out of preseason week number 1. Out of the 16 games, 13 of them hitting in over. What do you make of those strong over trends now in this preseason slate?
Good question. And if you count the Hall of Fame game, I guess it's 14-3, really. These overs. Obviously, the bookmakers got it wrong. It's not just some variance here that made these games, go over. They got it wrong. They didn't know the defenses really weren't going to be really hard tackling first game. Didn't want to get no one hurt. And there's other reasons. Well, what happened here in week 2 of preseason, 8 points was added, an average of 8 points to every single game. Now, if you guys notice, all the sharp groups, there's only 3 or 4 sharp groups, they came in and went under almost on every single game on this week 2 preseason. So under it was the play. It was the play in tonight's game. It was the play in tomorrow night's game. It's every game, literally except for one, I believe, was hit to the under by one of these syndicate groups. So I think they probably overreacted here. Maybe they'll play a little bit harder defense this week, and get some reps in. I think the bookmakers overreacted by adding so many points to the games. And we'll see what happens. Who knows? I mean, they still could go crazy and start scoring this week. We really don't know. But I think it'll be a tighter week. I think the scores will be a little bit lower than the last week.
Yeah, 11 of the 16 games last week for week 1 of the preseason combined for 42 points or more, so more offensive production than expected. And Crack, last week the totals were booked probably more around 33.5, 34 and a hook, maybe 35. Now we're already seeing them north of 40. So what do you do when you see the market maybe overreact? Do you ride the over trend, or does it get to a peak and you say, all right, now we have to hit the underside of this bet?
Yeah, I personally bet 3 or 4. I think I bet 4 unders on these games this week. There was no over betting by me. But yet, the regular season, I have no problem betting overs. You could bet overs now.
Yep.
You know, years ago, all the sharp guys, they bet unders and they bet underdogs. That is gone. If you haven't evolved, you're going to get caught in the dust because you could definitely bet overs throughout the season. But as far as preseason here, of course, also, Ben, I want to tell your audience here, the most important thing about preseason, let's not even talk about these totals for a second, is making sure you get the key numbers of 1 and 2. Very, very important in preseason football. If a team's down 17-10, 50 seconds left in the game, they get a touchdown, you can guarantee the final score is going to be 17-16 or 18-17. They're going for 2. They're just trying to win the game, and it doesn't count anyway. So therefore, the 2 and the 1 becomes real important. We see what happened in this Patriot game last night. Yesterday, the wise guys hit this game +2 and literally turned the game around. Now Patriots are 2.5-point favorite. That's a 4.5-point move around the key numbers that I'm talking about, the 1 and the 2. So you ask me, and people will email me or DM me and say, okay, Crack, Patriots, yeah, great. Oh, my God, Belichick, he loves to win. Even though they lost last week by 2, maybe they'll really be pumped up. Should I still bet them now? No. The answer is absolutely not. The probably only right way to bet this game now is taking the opposite side +2.5. You do not want to be on the wrong side of a 4.5-point move, and now you're laying the 2.5 like a sucker. You just don't.
Yeah. Craig, I think it's a great point because the key numbers in the preseason of 1 and 2, a little bit different than those key numbers in the regular season where 3 and 7 seem to be the more important NFL football game numbers. All right, only about 45 seconds left, Craig. If we look forward to the regular season now, in the futures market, the Buffalo Bills, the favorites to win the Super Bowl this upcoming year in the National Football League, +650 is the price on Buffalo. Do the futures market, a Super Bowl bet, a divisional bet, does that garner your attention?
Only if I'm like stealing. If I'm getting the information on Tom Brady, before everyone else or with everyone else, all the wise guys that got it, and get the 35 or 40 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. I don't like betting into a futures market like this because of the big takeout. I just don't. However, I will tell you, when there's a boost, like your FanDuel has there, when they have a boost or something, I personally have used a boost this year to bet the futures market. So a boost means you're getting 25% more in a payout, $50 extra or something. So I'll use them. I'll use them for the boost. I'll use them for that, but I'm not really looking to bet in the future market with double-digit holds.
Crack, great to have your expertise back here on the morning after. We look forward to having you here throughout this football season. Bill Krackomberger, one of the best in the industry. Again, follow all of his expertise on the Crack Wins app. Crack, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
More of the morning after is up next. The WNBA playoffs began last night and some big news in the NBA. LeBron James remains a Laker.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early
Take a look
line.
at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play
Aaron
less
Rodgers
games.
and
The morning
Russell Wilson.
after.
We saw movement in the marketplace like
Orlando
Fantasy
Magic.
sports
The Cleveland
today.
Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell coast to
BBG,
coast.
that's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time
Kind of
decisions.
bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live
I
all
like
access.
Vandy. I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy could win the game, take it 4.5.
In-game live. Prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live. Overtime.
done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid. Diamond Bets.
Fernando Tatis Jr. getting popped for a PED suspension for 80 games. Now, I know performance-enhancing drugs are something that, even here at the network, they encourage us, especially myself. They say, please, can you enhance your performance just a little bit more, Joe? This year, it's not going to happen next year for a good chunk of the season. And guess what? This is more important now that you added Juan Soto. So obviously this news rocked Major League Baseball.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell coast to
Took
coast.
PEDs intentionally, and people are still going to watch baseball the rest of the year and in the playoffs and the World Series. And then next year, when everyone's kissing his ass, all of us won't kiss his ass because we know he's a user. The guy took PEDs. That's how he got all of his big fancy numbers, and that's how he got that big, fat, guaranteed 14-year, $340 million.
The Sports Grid Network. The morning after.
Well, the Niners have a better overall year than those two other teams, being the Jags and the Jets.
What's funny is I think you'd get a lot of people, though you make a good point about where the number would sit. I think you'd get a lot of people to bet the Niners. I'm high on the Niners. I still would take the combination. I'm low on the Jets. I know I'm probably walking into a real bad trap here, and I'm going to live with it. I am very optimistic about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Sports Grid Network.
The people are fired up here on the morning after because I just got a new apartment and the expectation and the excitement level is high as we welcome James Young back onto the morning after right here on Sports Grid and Sirius XM channel 159. We don't call him coach for nothing. We have the scouting report on a daily basis. We have his hardwood handicap for both what we are seeing in the WNBA playoffs and some big news out of Los Angeles around LeBron James for the future in the purple and gold of the LA Lakers. JY, welcome back to the morning after. It is great to have you here on TMA.
I mean, you're almost as excited as you getting an apartment. Ben, what about the big game by you guys tonight in the Bellworks League? I need a dub out of you guys tonight. Big Ten bet is back, so that means a win should be on the horizon for the boys.
Too much action on the hardwood right now. Sports Grid laying the 3.5 in our first playoff game in our rec league at Bellworks. The defensive coordinator, what I like to call myself, JY, is back tonight. Let's have some fun with that later on. But we start in the NBA. Yesterday, LeBron James signing a historic extension with the LA Lakers. 2 years, $97.1 million. It makes him the highest paid player in NBA history, north of $500 million, a $500 million in guaranteed money throughout the duration of his very long and obviously very successful NBA career. JY, what does this mean? LeBron James signing a 2-year extension with the Los Angeles Lakers.
CMB, Cash Money Brother. Get that bag, Bronny. Can the coach get a couple? I need a little bit. I need some more shaving cream, and I'm starting to run a little bit low on my product. But listen, Ben, this is all about this year, then the 2-year extension. But here's the key, folks. Opt-out. When does the opt-out take place? 24-25 season. Folks, here's what you got to know. Who comes into the NBA in 2024? That would be Bronny James. So he has set himself up to escape out of LA if he's not happy with the direction of the team and or Bronny is not drafted by the Lakers. This puts, I think, a lot of pressure on the Lakers to make a move and to compete this year and next. Hello, Kyrie Irving, maybe?
Absolutely so. And that could be coming the Lakers' way, although Adrian Wojnarowski reporting yesterday for ESPN that the Lakers have offered up a couple future first-round picks, and the Nets at this point have said, no, that's not enough for Kyrie Irving. But let's focus on this 2-year window in this 2-year extension. LeBron was set to be a free agent this next offseason, this upcoming summer in the NBA. He decides that he's going to sign the extension now. Again, 2 years, $97.1 million. LeBron James, on December 30th this year, my mother's birthday as well, turns 38 years old. JY, what does the Lakers' title timeline look like in your mind?
Wait, Mama Stevens is turning 38? God bless her, that young lady. But listen, all seriousness, when you look at the title odds, the Lakers still aren't in the league of the Clippers, the Suns, obviously the Warriors, the Nuggets. You know, I don't think they're maybe the best it could be is 5th best. And I haven't even talked about teams like Dallas, teams like Memphis, a team like the New Orleans Pelicans. Hint, hint, FanDuel, take the over on their win total. They're going to be really, really good with a motivated Zion coming back. So, yeah, I think a lot of this also is, you know how it is, Ben. You know, you get the Lakers people. You get the Lakers people, and I get all juiced up. And I see LeBron got the extension. And they're like, yo, let's run to the window. And Vegas is saying, please give us your money. Please give us your money. So you can bet that plus 1,800 to win the championship. I think there's far better odds you can get from a lot of other teams that I would rather put my money on right now than the Lakers.
18-1, the 9th best price. The Lakers have the 4th best odds in the Western Conference. We'll see how this market continues to move throughout this summer. But that's the NBA championship. That's a long way away. That's next June. Right now, it's the WNBA postseason where we await a champion crowned in the W and JY. Right now, the Aces, the favorites on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Las Vegas was a 16.5 point favorite for their opening game of their series last night against the Phoenix Mercury. And depending on where you got that number, Las Vegas either covered or pushed or maybe didn't because they won by 16 over Phoenix, but making easy work last night in Vegas, 79-63. What did you take away from the series opener between the Aces and the Mercury?
Very, very pesky performance by the Phoenix Mercury. Folks, they were only down 5 at the half. They were in this game. They were leading at some point in the third quarter. They ran out of steam. Obviously, I mean, you feel so bad for the Phoenix Mercury after all they've been through. With obviously the situation with Brittany Griner, then the Taurasi injury, then Skylar Diggins-Smith asked out for personal reasons, and then last night they're in the game and poor Shea Patty gets hurt and probably blows out her Achilles. Like, this is a team that can't catch a break. Vanessa Nygaard has done as good of a job as any coach this year, including Becky Hammond. Remember, folks, the Phoenix Mercury were the runners-up this year. They were expected to contend, even with firing Sandy Bordello as the coach. So what they got was a great performance, but it's one of those things where they wore them down, and a pivotal point, a flagrant foul, and Chelsea Gray done woke up. I took her over 13.5 points. She got the 19. She was in a bad mood. She basically put the game herself away early in the fourth quarter.
And let's not forget, the Aces entered the series opener last night as an outright favorite at minus 4,000 to pull off a sweep in 2 games out of this best-of-3 series. That was minus 600. And now the Aces, a 15.5-point favorite for game number 2 in Viva Las Vegas on Saturday night. And as we showed you in the championship odds, Vegas moves to minus money, minus 110. The reigning WNBA champions, JY, the Chicago Sky, entered the postseason with the second best odds, only a couple of cents behind the Aces. But what happened last night in Chicago? Oh, it's something that James Young called a New York Liberty upset. They were a 9.5-point underdog, and New York goes on the road and wins outright by 7, 98-91. JY, take a victory lap here, but don't pat yourself on the back too hard.
No, I won't pat myself on the back too hard. But listen, Ben, you've been on him as well. Bocce's been on him. Shames has been on him. We've been all on the Liberty because of the fact that they have not been healthy. And when they score, they are flat out dangerous. And you can talk about Dangerfield and what she brings to the table since she's been to the Liberty. But Anescu, 22. Dolson, 13-7, 3 for 4 from 3. Laney, 17 points. She's healthy, folks. That's one reason why I think the Liberty could win this series. Howard, 22. But boy, Johansson's, this little French girl, man, this girl got some game. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if you're big for the Liberty and you're rolling to the basket, put your head on a swivel. Because that girl at 91.85 threw one of the best passes I've seen, male, female, high school, pro, college. Left-handed whip pass on the run, and that started the 13-0 run to end the game. The Liberty have lost a lot of close games, Ben, including a game that they lost by 2 to Chicago on the Vandersloot 3. That was a really fishy line from the get-go. If you understand how the Liberty are, you're going to know that team had a chance, and they have a chance to win the series. But something tells me you're going to get a really good punch by Chicago in game number 2 on Saturday.
The Sky, an 8.5-point favorite for game number 2 on Saturday. Still a heavy favorite there, but Chicago moves back to the 4th best odds to win the title in the W this year at plus 700. Let us not forget, the Liberty entered the series as a plus 320 outright underdog. There will be a game 3 back at the Barclays Center in New York. That is what we can guarantee. And JY, who was the former associate head coach for Monmouth women's basketball, has seen his fair share of dimes throughout his career. We can expect some maybe out of Sue Bird this evening for the Seattle Storm taking on the Washington Mystics. Coach, this is expected to be the most competitive series. The Storm only a minus 170 outright favorite, and in tonight's opener, just a 4.5-point favorite at home against the Washington Mystics. How do you break down this matchup?
Superstar power. And you got players on both teams. But to me, I'm looking at Seattle Storm minus 4.5 as the play versus the Mystics. Mystics are 2-5 against the spread their last 7 games. Meanwhile, coming into tonight, Seattle 5-2 against the spread their last 7 overall, 5-2 against the spread their last 7 home games. And listen, folks, I've said it on this network. Tina Charles has been the difference maker as the inside presence to go with Breanna Stewart. Give me the Storm minus the points.
And in the other game that we have tonight, JY, Connecticut now, the second best odds to win a WNBA championship. The Sun, a 9.5-point favorite at home against the Dallas Wings. What's the pick for this game this evening in the WNBA postseason?
I'm going to go with Dallas Wings plus the points. They've been really good down the stretch. And if they come up with props for my girl, Marina Maybury, shout out Marina, pride of Manasquan High School down here. She dropped about 30 when coach was a high school coach. Look for my girl, Marina, to go over 20 points tonight. Shout out, Marina. Get it done, baby.
James Young, a coaching legend in the state of New Jersey. We might need some of that expertise for the Sports Grid Rec League postseason tonight as well. JY, thank you very much. Tons of action in Seattle this evening. We go to the Pacific Northwest. Up next.
Okay.
you might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
People are going to the betting window
Betting
and
above
betting
the
them now
rim.
before the trade takes place.
How
Diamond
dare they
bets.
do what's fiscally responsible? See how it plays out. Buffalo's going all in right
Football
now. They need
full
to put
circle.
all their chips in the middle of the table. It's do or die for them.
And Godwin being out, they've had a little bit of a shakeup.
In-game live all access.
You could take the points, you could take the money line, and
we had to go to San Jose too. Maybe a small play on San Jose. I'm gonna go both underdogs here. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Wow. In-game
Phillies
live.
here,
Prime
over
time.
-128. You do have to lay up a little bit of wood here, Donnie, but I think against Patrick Corbin.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing
Get
elimination.
the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all 3 major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at sicscore.com.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
Tell me why you're so
agree.
high on Herbert and the Chargers. They never get it done.
Number one is injuries. This team seems to be snake bit. If that goes their way this year, the only thing that's going to prevent them is coaching. The coaching and the offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi, he has a strong-armed, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert, who is young and can throw the ball all over the field. And they have one of the shortest target depths of any team in the NFL.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Donnie, in this AP top 25, what caught your eye?
Yeah, if we're looking just at, the old guard, right, which particularly pertains to the SEC, Alabama number 1, Georgia number 3, Texas number 6. So 3 teams in the SEC in the top 6. Wouldn't shock us again, Kevin, right? 2 teams out of the final 4 will end up being from SEC competition. Notre Dame at number 5.
Only on Sports Grid.
A big night in Seattle. Preseason week number 2 starts tonight in the National Football League. The Seahawks, a 3.5-point home favorite against the Chicago Bears. And as we just detailed with JY, the Seattle Storm, a 4.5-point favorite in their opening game of their first round series against the Washington Mystics in the WNBA postseason. A ton of Seattle love here to round out the morning after. Live right here on this Thursday. Mikaela Mattes joins the show right now, making her TMA debut. She is the host of the PNW Showdown podcast, the Pacific Northwest Showdown podcast, covering everything Seattle sports. Mikaela, thank you for joining us here bright and early out there on the West Coast on the morning after.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. It was really hard to choose. Not really, but I'll be at the Storm game tonight for that game 1 of the playoffs. We have season tickets, and so I will unfortunately miss that Bears game, but it will be recording, and I will definitely go back and rewatch it after we get home from the Storm game tonight.
Listen, I love football as much as anybody. I love preseason football. I don't let people tell me it's preseason, it doesn't matter. I love preseason football, but it's WNBA postseason action. It's Sue Bird's final year. If you can be there for the Storm and the Sticks tonight, that's the seat to have in Seattle. But we'll start with that game between the Bears and the Seahawks. Again, Seattle, a 3.5-point home favorite tonight for the preseason opener of week number 2. How do you break down this matchup, Mikaela, and what you can expect tonight for the Seahawks against the Bears?
It's going to be really interesting to watch both of these teams because I think right now with the preseason, it's going to be kind of an equal play out there. We're going to see Geno Smith starting for the Seahawks. That was not originally the plan. As Drew Lock came down with COVID, they did want him to start to really see how this QB battle would pan out to give him an opportunity to really fight for that QB1 position. So we'll see Geno Smith out there for the whole first half, it sounds like, according to Coach Pete Carroll. And then we're going to see Jacob Eason out there in the second half, who has only had 5 regular season snaps in the NFL. So he's going to get a lot of opportunity to show what he has. He is a University of Washington product. So that will be exciting to see him go out there and get an opportunity. And I'm really interested to see if they allow Justin Fields to have more time on the field. I think he still needs to develop. I think he needs a lot more reps before the season starts. I don't think he's there at that franchise quarterback level yet to be able to say, we're going to keep you on the bench as long as possible. I think he needs those reps leading into the season. So I'm interested to see if they have him play a little longer. He went 4 for 7, I think like 48 yards in the preseason game on Saturday. And Trevor Siemian showed out for the Bears. Yep. You know, he was 7 for 13, 2 touchdown passes, 89 yards. So they need to give him an opportunity to play if they want to see how Justin Fields actually does. I'm really interested to see how the offensive line continues for the Seahawks. That was a really bright spot for them in the preseason game 1 on Saturday with Charles Cross at left tackle and Abe Lucas at right tackle. They really went in and bolstered that in the draft, which is ironic considering that's what, you know, everybody's like, oh, that's kind of a diss on Russell Wilson. Now in Denver, they're going to bolster the offensive line. And what I'm looking for tonight is consistency, right? Showing that they can really take control of the line against a starting defensive line with the Bears. They might see Robert Quinn out there, right? So some really solid linemen. And then how is this run game going? We know that Pete wants to lead with the run game this season. Our running back room has really struggled to stay healthy. I think Rashad Penny might get a few reps today. He's coming back from a minor groin injury. They might try to not play him as much because of his injury history, but I really want him to dominate the run game as he did at the end of the season last year. And, you know, DJ Dallas was exceptional on Saturday. So be on the lookout for DJ Dallas in the run game. As for the Bears, I don't think that that's going to be as much of a threat today because I don't think they'll start David Montgomery. I think they'll rest him as due to his injury history as well. And then the defensive line for the Seahawks is young and they're fast. Same with the linebacker core. So you're looking for Darrell Taylor coming off the edge with his speed, and you're looking at Boye Mafe, who really impressed last Saturday with 2 sacks and a tackle for loss. And the Bears offensive line gave up 5 sacks last week. So be on the lookout for the Seahawks offense or defense coming in and just dominating the offensive line with their youth and their speed. And then, of course, their veteran presence in the middle there with Al Woods, Shelby Harris, Poona Ford. So it's going to be a really exciting game to watch. And then, of course, the secondaries for both teams are really young. So there's still competition happening there at the cornerback spots for both teams. Tariq Woolen has been very solid. It's something that's not really seen as much in the preseason game because he blew coverage and gave up a touchdown. But he's been very solid in coverage in training camp against DK Metcalf. He's giving him a run for his money. So pay attention to Woolen's development as well as Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is sticky. I mean, the reception that was given up for a touchdown last week, that was a really good catch. That was a solid placement of the ball and a really good catch, but Kobe Bryant was all over him. So those are the things to look out for in this game. I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup for preseason and the players that are going to play, but it's a really great opportunity to see the development of all the young players, including the wide receivers that is going to battle it out. Bo Melton, Derek Young. Let's see if they can earn a spot on the roster in that wide receiver role.
This is what the preseason is all about, figuring out the depth chart across your entire roster and finding that throughout training camp as well. And, of course, there are quarterback questions on both sides. Chicago for Justin Fields entering year number 2, and for the Seahawks, who will be that new QB for Pete Carroll and his club. As you said, Mikaela, no Drew Lock tonight, out for this game due to testing positive for COVID-19. Geno Smith got the start last week in week number 1 against the Steelers. 10 of 15 for 101 yards through the air. Drew Lock, very similar numbers, 11 of 15 for 102 yards passing, and also threw 2 touchdowns. For week number 1 of this NFL season, Mikaela, when the Seahawks welcome in the old quarterback in Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos on Monday night, who do you expect to get the start at quarterback? Will it be Geno Smith or Drew Lock?
I do think it will be Geno Smith. I think that Seahawks fans are really pushing for Drew Lock. I think that they want him to be that next starting quarterback for Seattle. And I think it's because of his youth and his ability to be mobile and his potential for development with his arm. But I think where the battle is at right now with what Seattle wants to start the season with, it's going to be Geno Smith. He has the experience with the playbook. He has the experience with the players and the receivers on the team. He has the experience in the league overall. And I don't think that it would be wise to put Drew Lock in when he hasn't really had the reps with the first team as much against Russell Wilson and the Broncos when that was it's already going to be a huge game and a lot of pressure. And I don't think that throwing him out there game 1 at this point would really be setting him up for success. So I also, on the flip side, think that if Geno Smith struggled at all, I don't think there would be hesitation to pull him and to put Drew Lock in. I don't think there's any sort of commitment to saying, if we're going to start you, that you have to stay in and we're going to treat you like a franchise quarterback. I don't think that's the case either.
It will be very interesting to see what Pete Carroll's final determination is for week number 1. And again, Russell Wilson will play in Seattle week 1 on that Monday night, but for the Denver Broncos. It's a new era for sure in Seattle. The Legion of Boom no longer there on the defensive side of the football, and a new quarterback to decide as well. The Seahawks win total, Mikaela, is 5.5 for this 2022 season. The plus 540 number to make the postseason, the second worst odds in the NFC. But as you evaluate this Seahawks team throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, what's your outlook for Seattle in 2022?
I see them going 7-10 again this season. They did in the 2021 season. I see them looking at the schedule, 7-10. So I see them beating the 49ers. I see them taking over the Falcons and the Jets and the Giants and the Panthers. So I see them going 7-10. Now, I also have faith that if they clean up their tackling on the defensive side, that was the one thing that really stood out to me in the last game, is that their tackling was awful. If they can clean up the tackling and really develop the youth here, they might be more dominant than people are anticipating. And if we can keep our running back room healthy, this offensive line, as they showed, can be dominant in the run game. I think that was a little bit of a surprise because people were questioning whether or not Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, coming from pass-heavy offenses in college, could run block. And they showed very much so this last game that they could do that. So they might surprise people in the run game in their ability to control the clock and also dominate on the defensive side of things. So I'm hoping to be surprised, but I think it's 7-10.
The 5.5 win total for Seattle, it's a number they have gone over 12 straight seasons. In fact, 8 of those 12 years, they've won double-digit games, and the bottom, like Mikaela mentioned, was 7 wins like they had last season. It's a new quarterback, but DK Metcalf is there. Tyler Lockett is there. There is some consistency in the Pacific Northwest for the Seahawks. But as you compare them to the to the Bears this year, Mikaela, both teams a 5.5 win total. They face off against each other tonight in week number 2 to start off this preseason. Do you think Seattle, at the end of the day, when the regular season is done, will end up with a better record than Chicago?
I think that they will. I think that it will be very close. I don't think it's going to be a big spread in regards to the win-loss ratio there. But I think that at the end of the day, if Russell Wilson wasn't traded, people would be having very different conversations about the talent on the Seahawks team. If Russell Wilson was still on the team, they would be looking at the Seahawks team as a whole and they'd be playoff bound. There would be no question about it. And I understand the importance of the quarterback role in getting to that point. But this team and what they're doing and how they're retooling this offense and this defense feels to me very 2011, 2012, 2013-esque. And that they very well could go back to the Super Bowl here. I'm going to say contenders in 2024, the season of 2024. If they retool this correctly and they find another franchise quarterback, whether it's through the draft or one of these guys pans out or they trade for a guy, I think that they'll be contenders in 2024. But I do think that they have a more talented team than the Bears at this point.
It's a really good point because last year with Russell Wilson at quarterback, the Seahawks were expected to contend for a very competitive NFC West. There's a lot of changes, but as Mikaela laid out, a lot of consistency still. Pete Carroll, still the head man up there in Seattle. All right, Mikaela, only a minute left here. The Storm, a 4.5-point favorite against the Mystics tonight. You will be in attendance. How do you break down this matchup?
Well, the Storm are going to win because they're amazing.
Of course.
Breanna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd,
Yep.
Sue Bird. Man, this is a season I would love nothing more than Sue Bird to walk away with another championship title. She's incredible. Her character is incredible. Her leadership on that team is incredible. But I think that they're going to come out with a win over the Mystics and show out tonight.
I've been looking at the Storm all season long. Something cosmic, something magical about Sue Bird in her final year in the WNBA. Just keep an eye on Seattle throughout the WNBA postseason. Mikaela Mattes joining us here on the morning after on this Thursday, bright and early out in Seattle to preview the Seahawks Week 2 game in the preseason against the Bears and a little WNBA playoff action as well. Catch all of Mikaela's Seattle expertise on the Pacific Northwest Showdown podcast. Mikaela, thank you so much for your time on this Thursday.
Thank you.
We round out the morning after up next, the end of our 2 hours together. A bye best bet before we go. Thanks for joining us here on TMA.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
I don't care if they play this game in Puerto Rico. I mean, the bottom line is, it doesn't matter Seattle or Anaheim. Robbie Ray's stuff has been beautiful all season long. He's gotten stronger. He's led the majors in innings, the last 2-3 years. The guy's an inning eater. He's going to go out and do his job. He's going to go out and get into the 7th inning tonight, and he's going to strike out and go over. He's going to get another 9 or 10 tonight.
The Sports Grid Network. The Early Line.
Donnie, in this AP Top 25, what caught your eye?
Yeah, if we're looking just at, the old guard, right, which particularly pertains to the SEC, Alabama number 1, Georgia number 3, Texas number 6. So 3 teams in the SEC in the top 6. Wouldn't shock us again, Kevin, right? 2 teams out of the Final 4 will end up being from SEC competition. Notre Dame at number 5.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
LSU has the same odds to win the SEC at 100-1 as they do to win a national championship, also 100-1.
Well, I'll say this. There are going to be a lot of really bad takes about year one head coaches and a lot of people jumping to conclusions because there are 8 programs who have played in a national championship in the 21st century who have a first-year head coach. That includes Virginia Tech because technically they played in a national championship in the first week.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Definitely a starter in every fantasy football league. He's a top 12 quarterback in fantasy, but no longer the thought process where I guess he could be a number 2, the second overall quarterback or the third. Remember in years past he was being drafted right after the first couple of quarterbacks, but no longer the case. He's kind of like a consolation prize as opposed to the main starter for a lot of people.
The Sports Grid Network. Diamond Bets.
Fernando Tatis Jr. getting popped for a PED suspension for 80 games. Now, I know performance-enhancing drugs are something that, even here at the network, they encourage us, especially myself. They say, please, can you enhance your performance just a little bit more, Joe? This year, it's not going to happen next year for a good chunk of the season. And guess what? This is more important now that you added Juan Soto. So obviously this news rocked Major League Baseball.
Only on Sports Grid.
Closing out our 2 hours together here, live on the morning after on this Thursday on Sports Grid. Sirius XM, channel 159. That's the home for Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM. All across the Sports Grid network, I am Ben Stevens. Thank you for joining us here on this Thursday, a thorough Thursday preview of a football Thursday live on TMA. Week 2 of the National Football League preseason begins tonight in the Pacific Northwest. Mikaela Mattes just joined the show from Seattle to break down that game. We had Mike Blewett earlier on in the opening hour, and I give you my thoughts on the best bet for tonight's NFL Week 2 preseason opener between the Seahawks and the Bears. So before we say farewell and before we say goodbye, it's time for another preseason best bet. It is time for Bye Bye Bye. The total for tonight's game between the Bears and the Seahawks has been going bonkers all morning long. Seattle on the spread right now, a 3-point home favorite, down by the hook from 3.5, where it was earlier this morning. For most of the week leading up to tonight's game, the total was at 40.5. When we started the show today, it was 40. Midway through the show, it got up to 41 for that over-under. It has dropped by 1.5 points currently live on the FanDuel Sportsbook to 39 and a hook. I like where that market is going. I have the under of the 40.5. Here's why. Of course, we know the strong over trend so far throughout this NFL preseason. Of the 17 games we have seen, including the Hall of Fame game now 2 weeks ago, 14 of the 17 have hit the over. Last week in week number 1 of the preseason, 11 of the 16 games, the two teams combined to score 42 or more points. I don't expect that to be the case tonight. I think the market has overreacted slightly, moving up that total to 40 plus, now down to 39.5. And I don't think, based on the quarterback competition in Seattle with no Drew Lock tonight, maybe the offense slows down just a tad. Under 40.5 or maybe even 39 in a hook as well. The morning after, each and every weekday, live right here on Sports Grid. It starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Ben Stevens, and we'll talk tomorrow.